Hi everybody, this is Allie. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to transform this So Sweetness pattern. This is the Persimmon Dumpling pouch that has exterior, lining, and interfacing. And we're going to make a clear pouch out of that same pattern. So believe me, this is going to be a fun little project that you will definitely enjoy. I love clear pouches because I just want to see what's inside the pouch without having to open the pouch, right? I want to be able to go in and just look and see, oh, it's not there. Move on to the next pouch. Or, oh yeah, it's there. Let me grab it. So it's just a matter of preference. So, you know, if you are into clear pouches as much as I am, then you definitely want to try this hack. So today I am going to show you the technique that I use to cut the vinyl, to attach the accent, and attach this binding here, as well as the binding on the inside, so it looks nice and professional. As you can tell, this pouch does not require any lining, any interfacing, anything like that. So the main tutorial in this video will be pretty much how to add this binding, how to add the zipper, and how to make it look so nice on the inside when you don't have the lining and when pretty much your seams are exposed. For this project, I used waterproof canvas, and I buy my waterproof canvas from WholesaleFabricsDirect. This is one of the newest colors. And I'll add the link to the description. I'm not an affiliate of WholesaleFabricsDirect, but I will go ahead and add the link. I really like their products. The vinyl, I think I bought it at Joann. Yes, I think so. The zipper, I got it from Amazon. And I will go over all the materials with you for this pouch. I have made this pouch also in a larger size using vinyl. So this is faux leather. And as you can tell, it looks the same way on the inside also. This one though, this one I did not bind the interior seam. So that is an option. If you don't want to do that, you can, it's no problem. And also for the faux leather, it's raw edges up here, and that it's okay because faux leather doesn't fray, and it looks nice. It looks okay. For the waterproof canvas, also I folded the edge right here. You could also leave the raw edge like that because it doesn't fray, but I feel like it gives it a more finished look when you do the little bit of a hem on the top here. And you can barely see it on the inside of the pouch. That's the big difference. This is the small one, and her pattern comes in small, medium, and large. I made the small one, the original, and you can go to her website and download her videos and download the pattern. This is a free pattern. And so you can go and download the pattern. And if you want to make the pouch like this with the exterior fabric, interior, and everything, she has a great tutorial that is completely free. Today, I am going to show you how to make it this way. Her patterns come, this free pattern actually comes with an SVG file. So I was able to upload the file into my Cricut maker, this design space, and cut the fabric that way. So I was able to cut the vinyl, and I also cut the accent for the with the waterproof canvas. I made the accent piece a little bit bigger than what her accent piece is in her pattern. You really, it's just a rectangle, so you can really make that rectangle as tall as you want or as thin as you want. For the original, you see how much smaller it looks here, and this one looks a little bit taller. And I did that on purpose. That's just my preference. You can make this rectangle as tall or as wide or as small as you want, as long as it's long enough to cover the entire width of the piece, you'll be fine. So I was able to upload it to Design Space, cut it, and that was it. That was really easy. The binding though, I cut it by hand using my rotary cutter and using my ruler. It was not cut on bias. You can cut it on bias if you're using another type of fabric, if you're using like cotton, quilting cotton, or anything like that. You can definitely do that. But for this case, believe it or not, it's not necessary to cut it on bias. So it was just 2 strips of fabric, and the measurements are down in the description for that. It's 1 inch by 20. Now, the pattern itself is the So Sweetness pattern. So there's no measurements for that. You have to get the pattern. But for the binding here, that's the measurement. And, she gives you the measurements for the zipper in her pattern as well. You can also cut the vinyl using the technique that I show you in one of the videos from this playlist on how to cut vinyl. You can do that way. This was another one I made first, and it actually didn't turn out all that great. I can show you some of my mistakes. I didn't catch the zipper here, so make sure when you're attaching the binding that make sure that you make the binding the right size, the 1 inch wide, because this binding was a little bit bigger. And when I was stitching right there, at the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, it was, because the binding was bigger than the zipper tape, it didn't catch the zipper tape here. So it didn't look good. I don't like how that looks. So now I'm using number 5 zipper tape. And usually the number 5 zipper tape, the actual tape here is wider than the number 3. So make sure that if you don't use one of these number 5 zipper tapes, that your binding, the width of your binding, is the same size as the width of your zipper tape. That way you can catch it here when you're stitching. Okay. And this pouch, that was the one mistake I made. And another mistake I made was that I made the binding and I didn't double fold it. I just folded it once, and then you can see the raw edges here, and I did not like that look. It looks really bad as well. So if you take your time adding this binding, you should be okay. It should not be so difficult. It's just follow the instructions, follow the technique. You may make a mistake here and there, like I did. I've made this type of pouch. I've made several of these. I'm still making mistakes, so don't feel bad. But just take your time, okay? And don't feel bad if you see that it's a little bit bumpy here. That it's okay. It doesn't look bad at all. Other than that, I have put all the timestamps underneath here so that if you want to jump to a specific part of this video, specific step, you can just click and you can just go straight to that section and watch that section. Make sure you save this video so you can refer to it again in the future if you want to make this and you missed a step or forgot a step. That's what I do. I save all my videos. That way I can always go back and refer to them. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider to do so and hit the bell so that you can get a notification when I upload the next video. If you like what you see at any point, would you please give me a thumbs up? It helps me more than you know. And let me know down in the comments what you think about this pouch. Do you think this is something that you will want to make? Did you like this hack? I would love to hear from you. Also, really quick, I will start doing a monthly giveaway of the products that I make here in my YouTube channel. So some of the things that Not the ones that I messed up, obviously, but the one that we made today, for example, will go on a giveaway. I will do this once a month. So to enter that giveaway, you can click the link below and you will be notified if you are the winner. I will do this every month at the end of the month. So the last Friday of every month, I will be doing this. I will start this in May. So that way in May, I can do a video of showing you the pouches and bags that I have available to give away. And I will let you know how I will announce the winner, whether it's gonna be on Instagram or TikTok or here on Facebook. I'm not sure yet. I will let you know the details. But let me know, what do you think? Do you think you want to participate in something like that, where I show you the projects that I completed that month and I let you know which ones are going in the giveaway? Let me know. Okay, now enjoy the video. We have the two main panels. They're clear, see-through. We have the two bottom accent pieces. Because I'm using waterproof Canva, I am not interfacing this. We also have the two binding pieces for the top curve of the pouch. I cut a little piece of the same waterproof Canva for the interior binding to cover the raw edges on the inside, so it looks more professional. And your zipper. I highly recommend that you use a zipper with two zipper pulls facing each other. It will make it a lot easier when you're working and turning the pouch inside out to be able to keep the seams in place. Plus, it looks nicer. These are the materials. I will use this little tool. It's like a rolling hem. I use this a lot if I don't want to use the heat press or iron to mark some of the folds. Like in this case, I just use this and it's just a lot easier. But I will be using an iron as well today. To cut your waterproof Canva, if you don't use the Cricut like I did in this video, you can use a rotary cutter and of course fabric scissors. We will be using double-sided tape. This is the 1/8 of an inch. You can also use the 1/4 inch double-siding tape. You will also need clips, wonder clips or paper clips, anything that will not poke a hole on your clear vinyl. So I do not recommend that you use pins, just clips. For this project, I used a Teflon foot. This is the one for my machine. Depending on the machine you have, you will have to, find a Teflon foot that matches your machine. You can also use a walking foot. But I used this mainly when it was on the inside of the pouch, when I was sewing the seam. For the exterior, you may get away with not having a Teflon foot because a lot of the times you're going to be stitching over the actual fabric. So it may be okay. But I'd rather have my Teflon foot, and it's just a one-time investment, and it really, really saves a lot of headaches and a lot of workarounds, especially if you're planning on making a lot of pouches or projects with vinyl. Then definitely I recommend that you get a Teflon foot. So the first thing we're going to do is work on the bottom piece of the pouch. And you can do this two different ways. If you're using faux leather, you don't have to fold the top edge of bottom piece, by creating a hem, because the raw edge will look good. However, with waterproof Canva, you can still do that if you want to, but sometimes the waterproof Canva, it starts fraying a little bit, and I just don't like that look. So what I decided to do is fold one of the long edges of the bottom piece by 1/4 inch. And so this is one example. I folded it by 1/4 inch, and then I used the iron and I pressed it with the heat. So when I do that, because of the waterproof canvas having a PVC coating, when you apply heat, it starts melting, and then it kind of joins the two pieces of fabric together, making it stuck. So that really, it's helpful because I don't have to worry about the piece of fabric opening. I can just apply the heat, wait for it to kind of fuse together, and then it's ready to be used. I didn't fuse it all the way here, so as you can see, I could still apply a little bit more heat and it will fuse like it did here on the edge. But I wanted to show you how it would look. You don't have to fuse it and it will still keep the shape. So I'm going to do the same with the other piece. And for that, what I do is that I take one of my erasable markers and I get my ruler and I just mark 1/4 inch. On the inside of the fabric, not the exterior, but the inside. And I just fold along that line. At first, you can use this little rolling tool as well. And that will help when you take it to the iron to help it kind of keep the fabric in place, because the waterproof canvas is pretty stiff. And so as you can see, it opens right up. And it's easier when the fabric is just flat, right? It's easier to work. But this just helps keeping it, at least marking the area where I'm going to then use the iron to make it really flat. Okay, now take your iron and with the waterproof canvas right side facing you, so right side up, you're going to fold where you made that marking and you're going to press. Okay, you're just gonna leave it there for about 10 seconds. You're just gonna keep going like this. The fabric, the waterproof canvas, gets really soft when you do this. You see how it's now fused there? And there you go. So for that, we're going to take the two long pieces of binding that we have, and we're going to first fold them in half. And I'm going to use this little tool right here to mark that center of the binding, okay? Now we're going to use our iron to finish up the binding. So for this part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this binding tool, binding making tool. I don't know the name of it. I'll find the name and I'll put it in the description down below. And I'm using the 18mm width one, which is about 1/2 inch. It's a little bit bigger, but it's okay because I don't want my fabric to feel squished and hard to pass through this little tool. So I always pick the one that's a little bit bigger. And so you insert your fabric through there, and then with your owl or any pointy tool that you have, you can just push it through. And you see how it's coming out. Now, you don't want to push this too far out and have too much fabric, because then it starts losing the shape. At the very beginning, it's going to be a little bit challenging to keep the fabric in place. I'm going to now press it with the folded side facing me. So the folded side up. So I want to make sure that fabric stays in there. And just keep it there for about 10 seconds. So keep doing this. See how it's still opening a little bit, but it's okay. I'm just going to press it one more time. I just don't want my fabric to open up. That's the most important, is that you keep pressing it. On one side, you're pressing it with the iron, and on the other side, you're holding it with your fingers so that it doesn't open up. This is the one time that you definitely want your binding to fuse together. It will make it so much easier for you to work when you're attaching the binding. Take the clear side, take the waterproof canvas. The folded side is towards the curve. You're going to flip it, and the side that you did not fold is what's going to be matched with the bottom part of your main panel. And we're going to make sure that the accent piece covers the entire main panel, and that there are no pieces of the main panel sticking out, and that the bottom matches perfectly. And here's the folded piece. So we're just going to place clips, and now we're going to take this to the sewing machine, and we're going to sew it along the top edge of the accent panel at a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, using a 4mm stitch length. In order to attach the binding now to the exterior panel, we're going to use double-sided tape, and you're going to apply this double-sided tape all along the sides right here. So we're just going to, actually before we do that, I'm just going to trim off the sides here. So that I can clearly see the curve. So right side facing you, you're just going to apply this double-sided tape right at the edge of the pouch right here, the clear vinyl. And it's a little bit hard to see, especially in the camera, I'm sure, because of, you know, it's clear. But trust me, it's there. Okay. And for this, you're going to need a lot of your pins as well. With the right side facing you and the folded side facing down, but just a little bit at a time. Don't pull it all out at the same time, okay? you're going to be pulling the tape and applying the binding a little bit at a time. And now please make sure to add the binding along the edge of the clear vinyl like this. Okay, so just pull it and apply it. Pull it and apply it right there. Okay, you can also add pins as you are applying your binding and sticking it to the double-sided tape. That way you can make sure it stays in place. Before we add the zipper to this, I want to make sure I mention something. You will not be folding this inside out. So this what you can see out here, you'll always be able to see it. This is your actual exterior seam. So take your time completing this step because you want to make sure that your binding matches the edge of your pouch perfectly. Otherwise, it's going to look crooked, it's going to look uneven, and we don't want that. So make sure that your edges right here match and that they're straight, they're aligned to each other. Just like this. This is what you're going to see when the pouch is finished. So that is important, okay? Now let's add the zipper. One way that I do this is by stitching the ends of the zipper. That will prevent the zipper pull from coming out when I open the zipper, because I have to open the zipper all the way in order to install it to this pouch. Makes it way easier that way. Now, before I do that, I like to mark my half point for my zipper here. So I kind of did that already. You can open the zipper, it's probably easier as well. And you can take chalk or anything, any marking tools that you have that is not going to be too obvious because people are going to be able to see this marking. And you're just going to mark your half point there. Then you're going to take your pouch and you're going to fold it in half. You're not going to place a marking, but you're going to fold it in half. And this is the interior side of the pouch, right? And you're going to take your zipper, and either side it is good. So you're going to take your zipper, you're going to place your zipper facing up. This is, the teeth are facing up, and this is the back of your pouch. And you're going to find that middle marking that you made, and you're just going to kind of place it right there in on your fold. You know, it doesn't have to be exact, but that's kind of like the center. And so it's going to look like this. Okay, so you're going to place your exterior pouch on top of your zipper tape with the teeth facing up. And you want to find kind of like the middle point. It doesn't have to be exact, but it helps to have that in the center, so that way you don't have too much tape hanging out on one side or the other, or you put too much on one side and then you don't have enough to finish adding the zipper to your pouch. So what you're going to do is that you're going to do that, and then you're just going to hold it together. You're going to take your Wonder clip and align it like this, right? And then put your Wonder clip again. And you want to make sure the zipper teeth are right along the edge of your binding and your exterior panel. You don't want the zipper teeth to be inside like this. You don't want that. Okay, you want it to be like that. So make sure you do that. And for this case, actually, I prefer the Wonder clips for this. So here it is, and it's staying in place because I have the double-sided tape, so it's not moving up and down. And because this iron, the fabric is not opening up. And with the double-sided tape, it's staying in place. But you still want to put Wonder clips or some sort of clips here to help it stay in place, because once you take it through the needle, through the sewing machine, you do not want your zipper to move around. And so having the Wonder clips and the double-sided tape really helps with the process, okay? So that's one side, and then you can continue with the other side. So that's one side. So this is how it looks. Okay, and now we're going to do the same with the other side of the pouch. And for this, I'm just going to turn it around like this. I'm going to find my half point here that I marked. There's my half point. I'm going to fold this in half. Make sure it matches here at the bottom. And I can remove that. There it goes. That's my half. And I find my half point here, and I can just okay. Okay. And here it is. Now make sure your zipper is not twisted. That's going to be important. So here are both exteriors. And okay. Okay, these are both exteriors, and they both have the zipper. Next, let's take this to the sewing machine. One thing that we need to do before we attach the zipper is to cut here the corners. This one. Now, this one that I already stitched the top part, I will go ahead. I'm glad I didn't stitch this side right here, so I can trim that off, that corner. Okay. But on this side, I stitched the zipper all the way to the bottom here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push it aside. I'm not gonna trim, I'm not gonna remove the stitching and all that, because with vinyl, once you stitch once, you don't want to remove the stitching and do it again, because that makes the plastic weaker. You know, it's like perforating it, and you don't want to do that. So I'm going to just move the binding to the side and the zipper to the side, and cut those edges right there. Okay, we're going to start stitching along the zipper teeth at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, 4mm stitch length. And so we're going to start, like I said, right along the side where the zipper teeth are. This is not a fast process. You want to make sure your zipper teeth are not going inside the fabric or too far out, but definitely not inside the fabric. If they're going a little out like this, it's okay, but you do not want them to push in like that, okay? So just make sure you keep that in mind. And then you stop, you take your clip off, and you keep on going. And then you will start moving as you start curving this pouch. Because you're doing it so slowly, you will be able to just move along the curve without worrying that you will mess up. I'm using this tool to help keep the fabric in place. This is very helpful, especially for a project like this. You're going to stitch up to that point where your vinyl ends. Okay, next we're going to stitch the inside of the binding. Again, following the same 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, 4mm stitch length, and going really slow and really carefully. And we're going to stitch on the outside here. And we're going to try to catch the zipper back here. Once we're stitching on this binding, the whole idea is to be able to catch the zipper as well. We're getting close to being done. As you can see, the zipper is installed. So an important tip right now is for you to check and make sure your zipper is straight, make sure your seams are straight, that your bottom matches here, that everything looks good. The way you do that is you can close your zipper, okay, in both zipper pulls, and then you can make sure that is straight and even, that there are no bumps. You will know, believe me, because I've had some where there were bumps and I was like, oh my goodness. There were bumps, especially at the zipper part. When the zipper pulls here, like the zipper, one side of the zipper was sticking out. So you want to make sure your zipper looks straight and that your the seam of your accent pieces, the bottom pieces, are straight and everything looks good. If something is crooked, what you need to do is you need to remove the zipper pull and reinstall it until it's straight. That's why it's so important that you have extra zipper, just in case you have to remove the zipper pull and adjust it, maybe trim off any difference, make it even, and then reinsert the zipper pull. So that's one tip. So make sure you do that. And after you do that, we're going to go ahead and open the entire pouch, and we're going to turn it with the inside out. And again, we're just making sure that everything matches, all the edges and everything. And we are going to join the bottom part of this pouch. Okay. So I add some wonder clips here. And sometimes what I do, I close the zipper pull a little bit towards like the center of the pouch, just to make sure that my edges here match and everything is even, because sometimes if this is open, then the fabric will move around and we don't want that. So I close it just enough so that it keeps the exterior pieces in place, and it helps me, it gives it stability, and it helps me make sure that everything is in good shape. So now I'm going to take it to the sewing machine. I'm going to stitch it here at the bottom at a 1/4 inch seam allowance and 4 millimeter stitch length. Okay. Now that I have joined the bottom, I will trim off the bottom here just a little bit, not a lot, not even half of the seam allowance. Okay, just a little bit. Okay. Okay. And then I'm going to take my smaller binding, the one that's 3/4 of an inch wide, and I am going to cover that stitching. So I'm just going to place it right here at the edge, okay, right at the edge, and I'm just going to fold it in half. Once I get to that point, I am going to now trim off the excess fabric here, and I'm going to take this to my sewing machine, and I'm going to stitch it at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, also 4 millimeter stitch length. This is the part where we're going to go really slow, okay? Now, I did not stitch first and then add the binding. I went ahead and joined the binding kind of without stitching it first. I'm going to stitch over it using the clips. You can try to do this way, or you can do it the same way I did it before, which was by stitching, adding the binding, and then stitching again. That method really is not the best for when you're working with clear vinyl, because you do not want to add extra holes if you don't have to, but I wanted to show you how it can be done as well. Really slowly, okay? And we're stitching right down the middle of that binding. This is the part where you have to go extra slow, because not only you have the fold for the bottom part of the pouch, but you also have the zipper teeth. So treat it with care. Okay. Okay, we got here to the end. Perfect. So there it is. So now I'm going to trim this off, making sure I don't cut the vinyl, just the binding. Okay, and I'm going to do the same on the other side.